Well, let's stay in the basket business. Kraft Heinz reporting a miss on the top line as the decline in sales volume outweighs price increases. Shares are down more than 5%. For more on what this signals about the consumer spending environment as the competitive landscape intensifies, let's get to Aaron Lash, Morningstar Director of Consumer Sector Equity Research here. Aaron, great to have you here on this. You know, just as we're reading through some of the highlights from this fourth quarter, net sales decreased 7%. Gross margin, that was a slight increase there, but ultimately here, you're taking a look at some of the other categories, net income down 14.6%. I mean, your read in on this quarter and ultimately what they need to do to kind of turn some of these weak spots around.
Yeah, on the top line, some of it is because of the fact that they were lapping a 53rd week in last year period. So if you think about it on an organic basis, sales were down about 70 basis points in the fourth quarter. But yes, you're absolutely right. Volumes have been hurt by a pressured consumer. Consumers are being much more prudent as it relates to their purchases, and that's impacting some of Kraft Heinz's categories. As a result, we're seeing them continue to invest more as it pertains to research and development, so in terms of innovation and that which aligns with consumer trends, as well as marketing, making sure that consumers are aware of the products that are out there, while also increasing their distribution in terms of the channels where consumers are shopping. So think club, think dollar. That's incredibly important, and we expect that those investments will persist.
And Erin, we did see companies like Coca-Cola, while still seeing lower volumes, still seeing higher sales. Those price increases there, customers still loyal to the brand there, at least for now. Why do you think we're not seeing that with some of Kraft Heinz's offerings?
So Kraft Heinz did have higher prices in the quarter on lower volumes, but the volumes offset the price increases. So there is still price, and management is guiding for the fact that price is still going to be a positive contributor to their results going through this next year. Obviously, there's a basket of commodities that is decreasing, but there are still inflationary headwinds that Kraft Heinz and others throughout the space continue to face. For Kraft Heinz, they specifically called out tomatoes, sweeteners, labor, as well as transportation. And so all of those are putting upward pressure on their cost structure throughout the next several quarters. And that's not dissimilar from what we've heard from other consumer product companies. Kraft Heinz specifically called out the fact, that their categories can be more susceptible to individuals, consumers that are on SNAP benefits. And that has an outsized impact. You think Kraft mac and cheese being one of those particular categories that might be more susceptible to trade down relative to others throughout the grocery store because of that exposure.
What's the reality of if they lose market share in certain categories, as you see more of a trade down, especially if a consumer is in a category where they are and have been under more pressure for an extended period of time? What does that pathway towards regaining that market share on the other side look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that that's one of the things that's been weighing on shares for firms throughout this sector over the past year or so. What path will these firms take? Kraft Heinz has been very emphatic that they're going to continue to invest behind research and development, behind marketing, across price tiers to keep consumers within their brand families, and that they're reluctant to chase short-term market share gains by overly promoting. That's not to say that they won't promote. We are seeing promotional levels return to pre-COVID depth and breadth in a number of categories. But because of the data and analytics that they've been investing in, Kraft Heinz touts the fact that the return that they're getting from that promotional spending has actually improved. So they're being much more surgical in terms of their use of promotions, as opposed to being more broad-based and not getting the return from that. And so we expect that will continue. But, from our vantage point, continuing to invest behind product innovation not only keeps your products top of mind and in line with consumer trends, but also makes you a valued partner for retailers in terms of trying to assist retailers in terms of driving traffic into their stores and growing those basket sizes, which have come down across the board, and really trying to be a good steward and a good partner for retailers in terms of and that, when taken together, should help them as it relates to stabilizing and or improving their market share positions in time.
And obviously, a lot of these products, household names internationally here. What are you seeing in terms of the international options available, especially when you think of the Middle East impact? And you mentioned, some of the sweetness commodities like sugar. What does the international picture look like in terms of the growth trajectory here for Kraft Heinz?
Yeah, for Kraft Heinz, it's a very interesting story. Obviously, international is a much smaller piece of their business, and they're attacking it a bit differently. Internationally, their focus has really been on growing their food service business as a way by which to unlock awareness and brand appeal to consumers, and then ultimately to expand within the retail channel to a much greater extent. You think of their portfolio in terms of condiments and sauces and flavorings, and that does appeal and is well suited for the food service channel. And so that's how they've been approaching that market. Emerging markets for them have been growing at a fairly rapid clip. And given the penetration or the white space opportunities that they have available, that's likely to persist for some time, at least in terms of driving outsized growth relative to developed markets, maybe not at the cadence that it has historically or more recently, but there is a number of opportunities that they have at their disposal as they seek to tailor their portfolio and get to know that local consumer through the food service channel.
Aaron, does this seem like a management team to you that is at all concerned about the impact of appetites lessening or waning as a result of the prominence of some of the GLP-1s or weight loss or obesity treatments and drugs that have a growth trajectory that is quite remarkable that we've seen come about over the past year?
Yeah, it's a question that kind of hits a number of firms throughout my list, not just Kraft Heinz, obviously. Hershey, Mondelez, they've all been getting similar questions, as you can likely expect. The reaction that we've gotten from management teams up to this point is that they haven't seen any impact yet. Kraft Heinz did not talk about it on the call this morning, but the overall sentiment has been there's been little to no volume impact, noticeable impact at this juncture. It's something they're watching, and because of the resources that these leading brands possess, we think that they're going to be able to tailor their product portfolio to appeal to a consumer that might be going down this path. They've obviously faced a number of similar stops and starts as it relates to various health trends over the last number of decades. And this hasn't been an impediment to their business across the CPG landscape. And we expect that this will prove similar going forward. So it's something that we're watching. It's something that we're paying attention to, but no impact as of yet.
Aaron, great to speak with you here today on all of things Kraft Heinz and the entire sector here. Aaron Lash, Morningstar Director of Consumer Sector Equity Research. Thanks so much.
Thank you.